From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, as the demand for eggs grows, a Michigan couple continues to farm on.
Oh my, the chickens never stop producing.
See how they do it. High demand at the grocery store, but still lower prices for cattle producers. We look into what's going on.
Does something need to give? Does something need to be fixed? Absolutely.
As China comes back to the U.S. market with another big buy.
That the futures are just kind of like embodying a sentiment of, the grave situation that we're looking at.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Amid the economic downturn and the battle against the coronavirus, China once again buying U.S. ag products. Private exporters reporting a flash sale of corn to USDA, a total sale of 567,000 metric tons of corn. Of the total, 63,000 metric tons is for old corn, the rest new crop. And it seems to be a trend. Last week we told you about 114,000 metric tons of corn for delivery to unknown destinations, presumably China. And the week before that, USDA announcing China purchased 750,000 metric tons of corn. But the market's not moved on Friday by yet another corn sale to China.
In the corn, we did make a new low. That improved oil prices were just not enough to really offer any support for the corn market. And it's really starting to sink down to levels that we were thinking that we might not even get to. The support number was 330, and we were testing that number and actually got below it. There is some real worry that there is some bigger downside potential with the ethanol production really almost coming to a standstill right now.
Corn under pressure right now because of low demand for ethanol. Now the U.S. biofuels industry is asking for a bailout. Renewable Fuels Association and other related groups sending a letter to Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue. In it, the groups asking for funding from the agency's Commodity Credit Corporation. The letter saying that collapsing demand for fuel during the coronavirus outbreak has idled about 3.5 billion gallons of ethanol at 25% of the nation's plants. Meanwhile, the coronavirus impact continues to grow. The CEO of Sanderson Farms reporting 15 employees have tested positive for COVID-19. Another 36 people are waiting on test results. The poultry company also reporting it is cutting back its chicken production at its plant in Moultrie, Georgia, telling 415 employees to stay home with pay. The plant has a capacity of 1.3 million head a week. Officials saying they will cut that number to 1 million birds. The workers live in Daugherty County, which right now is considered a hotbed for coronavirus cases. At this time, there are no indications the workers actually have the virus. We know there are provisions in the coronavirus economic stimulus package that the president signed last month that will likely benefit farmers, but how exactly? First, farmers need to determine if they should apply for a Paycheck Protection Program loan from the Small Business Administration or whether they will take advantage of the payroll tax credit they may be entitled to. Farm Journal Agribusiness CPA Paul Neefer says you can't do both, but the problem right now, many in the ag industry are still trying to figure out how the potential money will be sent out, and there just aren't answers yet.
No, we don't have a clear picture yet. There are definitely rumors floating around, a lot of questions on exactly what kind of programs they're going to utilize, if they have to create new programs, and how those funds are going to be dispersed. We don't have any answers on that just yet. We do know the funding levels.
NCBA saying it is working on a presentation for USDA to figure out a way to make things as equitable as possible for ranchers. The organization will then present that to USDA. Leaders saying it could be a couple of weeks before they see any sort of program revealed.
This is the first time the cattle industry has asked for assistance like this. There's not a model that we can use. So we truly are starting at scratch and trying to build this thing and figure out how we can make it as equitable as possible, but at the same time also try to make it easy and accessible. And those aren't always easy to get in harmony.
Cattle producers are watching markets this week to see if retail beef demand changes, while talk continues around industry margins amid calls for an investigation. AgDay National reporter Betsy Gibbon has a story.
We've all seen the bare beef aisle at the grocery store, but that heavy demand is slowing.
We've been trying to restock people's freezers. That is starting to slow down now.
The evidence is found in the price of the average choice cutouts.
It appears that they've peaked now and they're going to start working their way down.
Retail beef demand remains very strong compared to previous months, a problem some in the cattle industry are upset about, seeing such high retail demand while future prices are low. Most live cattle contracts are still trading under $1. As of March 20th, the daily choice box beef cutout was roughly $253, more than $45 higher compared to the previous Friday. A week later, that price was less than $1 lower. Late last week, the choice cutout dropped significantly to between $232 and $235, but not near as low as it was several weeks ago. The packers get a big chunk of the spread. Instead of cow-calf producers and feed yard operators, private companies estimating the margins.
They're sitting around $521 per 1,000 pounds of steer. As of February 16th, they were sitting at $217 per 1,000 pounds of steer.
NetView says the beef that retailers sell on a typical day is product the retailer planned sales around as many as 3 months ago, but packers are still making big money.
We're having a really hard time closing that gap between boxed beef prices and live cattle.
However, the spread between packer margins and cattle futures prices is gaining attention.
I think 3 or 4 big giants have about 76% of all the slaughter.
NCBA's CEO Colin Woodall says he believes a new investigation could be roped into the Tyson fire investigation, which is still open.
Does something need to give? Does something need to be fixed? Absolutely. We believe in that, but we would really like to be able to do that on our own.
As far as boxed beef margins, Woodall says NCBA contacted packers.
We made phone calls directly to the packers, and we made very clear expectations to them that we wanted them to be aggressive in the market and we wanted them to be aggressive in their bidding.
Yet there's more to the situation. Some say it's not illegal for the packers to make more money since they are a customer of the producer. Yet others in the industry say the feed yards that hedge and recognize when to hedge have had a chance for profits.
You can take some market protection risks off the table by being hedged in the event that the market goes from $1.25 to 98 cents like it has.
No matter the stance, it's sure to be watched by all facets of the industry as the year progresses. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
The West Coast dealing with a mix of rain and snow over the weekend. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman looks ahead to this week. Mike.
Yeah, that's right, Clinton, and that's a slow-moving system moving through the southwest. We'll talk about that, but also have a warm-up in the middle of the country, at least for the first part of the week. Now, calving season is still going on for parts of the country, but the conditions aren't exactly easy. Jesse Fisher of southeastern South Dakota is sending us this picture of the soggy mess right now. That's not helping with planting in parts of the country as well. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Coming up, Machinery Pete says he's seeing an unusual new trend in the used equipment business. Plus, eggs in big demand right now, and a Michigan couple is doing their part to keep the food supply chain going. We take you behind the scenes of their operation coming up.
This special edition of Ag Day is celebrating Agronomy Week, paying tribute to farmers, agronomists, and all of agriculture chasing the dream. Coverage is brought to you by DeKalb, Asgrow, and Delta Pine. Learn more at agronomyweek.com.
Corn futures hitting new contract lows on Friday, despite that big corn sale to China to end the week. Could we see a rebound this week? We get more from a CME trader working from home.
Today in the grain market, soybeans slipped a little bit. That higher start faded to a new low. The May contract traded from $8.65 down to $8.50. A little bit of a surprise because we really thought that there was going to be some strength coming back into the market to end the week, but that just didn't happen. In the November contract at the $8.60 level, we haven't seen that at this time of year since 2007, so it makes things much more difficult. In South America, the currencies are also on the decline with the Brazil real down as well as the Argentine peso. Those things weigh heavy to make us less competitive around the world. Spring work is really getting started for all the row crops, so we're going to start to shift our focus to more fundamental issues in Mother Nature and see how the weather is going to start working as we go forward. Wheat was the only highlight today. It did rebound well. I think bargain hunters were off to the races somewhat and offered some solid support for the market. The idea that Russia is definitely going to put restrictions on their exports is something that kind of is boosting the market a little bit. Today in the livestock market, cattle was limit down. That eroding beef demand is really no surprise. Just so to give you a little perspective, the April contract has had a limit move 18 out of 21 of the past sessions. This is kind of unheard of. Consumer spending is expected to decline sharply over the next couple of weeks, and this is why the market has been in a hurry on the way down. Also, there's possibility of maybe more plants closing with the expansion of the virus and the restrictions that are going to be handed down throughout the country. Feeders were also sharply lower. I think the weakness is really significant complex-wide, and the drive lower is just adding to the momentum.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joining us for a look at our weather, and let's start with the root zone moisture map, because as we saw last week, this thing is a lot of blue right in the heart of where we want planting season to happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now we have a slow-moving system coming out of the southwest that's probably going to spread some moisture into the middle of the country. But as you can see, a lot of the middle of the country definitely on the wet side, and that's been the way for several months now. The Great Lakes, back into Wyoming, parts of Montana, parts of Texas, especially northern and northeastern sections throughout the Tennessee and Ohio River valleys on the wet side in many areas. Now, it has turned a lot drier in the last few weeks. Florida, southern Georgia, parts of southern Alabama, and it continues to be dry overall, as you can see from central California on up in the Pacific Northwest, as well as the central and northern Rockies. Checking out the drought monitor, you can see the really dry area is now South Texas. That has come on. Now, they've been dry for a while, but the really severe extreme drought, and even in a few spots exceptional drought, has come on just in the past few weeks to really become bad in that area. They've been missing the rains. I'm hoping this storm system coming out of the southwest brings you folks some rain as we head through this week. Dry in parts of the Four Corner region into southwestern Kansas and also out west, as you can see. So here's the jet stream. There's that slow-moving cutoff storm system in the southwest. That'll bring in Pacific moisture. There's Thursday, a shot of cold air coming to the Great Lakes in the northeast, and that chilly air is going to remain as we head through the northern tier of states for the rest of the week. So temperatures this week, I'm going below normal, the northern plains, most of southern Canada and the northeast. Above normal from the southeast, Tennessee Valley, back into the middle of the mountains, middle of the Rockies. Below normal in the southwest. Above normal precipitation, though, in the southwest, as well as late in the week, areas into the southern Mississippi Valley, below normal then Montana westward. The 30-day outlook for temperatures, I'm going below normal from western Dakotas down to Utah into the Pacific Northwest, above normal the far southwest, and then much of the area from the Ohio River Valley southward, as well as northern New England. 30-day outlook for precipitation, above normal from the Ohio River to the Gulf Coast. Hopefully this area in Texas, and then above normal out west. As you can see there, the only below normal areas South Florida and Central Florida, as well as the northern plains. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Haver, Montana, first of all, mostly cloudy and rather cool, high of 51. San Antonio, Texas, warmer with a thunderstorm in spots, high around 81 degrees. And finally, Mansfield, Ohio, partly sunny and mild, an afternoon shower possible, high around 63.
Coming up, starting a great growing season with the right seed, plus Machinery Pete.
I'm seeing a huge jump in the amount of 1 to 3 year old farm equipment sold at auction. How are values holding up? Stay tuned.
Machinery Pete, brought to you by AGI, your on-farm partner. Visit aggrowth.com for more information.
It's not just older used farm equipment that's hot right now, the newer stuff is too. Machinery Pete tells us why he thinks that's the case.
Folks, I saw a 42.6% jump in the amount of 1 to 3 year old farm equipment sold at auction first quarter 2020 versus first quarter 19. Now you might say, gosh, are values falling because there's so much more of this late model stuff out there? It's a good question, but what I'm seeing is exactly the opposite. Values, if anything, are a little higher. I think in these tough times, particularly on tractors, combine sprayers, that warranty protection is what people want. Now let's take a look at a recent example here. Here's a picture of a 2018 John Deere 9520R four-wheel drive tractor. This thing only had 145 hours on it and sold on an online-only farm auction March 31st in West Central Illinois. It went for $300,000. Now, you could look at that $300,000 and a lot of people might say, gosh, that seems really cheap. Well, if you're thinking that, that's only because all you're looking at is the advertised pricing. Now, I actually did the math here on the current average dealer advertised price on an 18 model 9520R is just barely over $330,000. But again, the one that sold on the 31st of March only had 145 hours on it. So to be more specific here, I went in and found the highest dealer advertised price on an 18 model, and it was from the same state of Illinois, had exactly the same number of hours, 146, so 1 hour difference, and the dealer was asking $388,900. Now, if you do my machine repeat ratio math here, which is the average, which is the auction price divided by the dealer ad price, that comes out to 77.1%. And I've been tracking this ratio for almost 18 years now, and 77% is a little bit higher than normal. So it shows that $300,000 hard cash price, pretty darn strong.
This special edition of AgDay is celebrating Agronomy Week, paying tribute to farmers, agronomists, and all of agriculture chasing the dream. Coverage is brought to you by DeKalb, Asgrow, and Delta Pine. Learn more at agronomyweek.com.
We're kicking off Agronomy Week on this Monday. Throughout the week, we'll be sharing agronomic tips to help your operation get started on the right foot, and that includes choosing the right seed. In Dubuque County, Iowa, farmers are busy applying anhydrous ammonia. Local agronomist Nicole Steckline says the top few inches of the soil are dry and the nitrogen is sealing nicely into soils. She says with the right seed selection and help from Mother Nature, area farmers could have a great growing season in 2020.
Some products you can push and do everything to it and you're never going to miss a beat. Other products, you know, they might be a little bit more finicky. They might be more of a valley girl, where they're going to take a little bit more management. Other products are more rough and ready, you know, that workhorse. So knowing what your management practices are, your yield goals, as well as, you know, what soil type, if it can handle those different environments, whether it be high residue corn on corn or full tillage, hog manure, extra nitrogen, everything else. So knowing what type of product you have, what type of field it's going into, and then what kind of management practices really helps us hone into what products fit best in your field and your operation.
Stay-at-home orders are in place in many parts of the country right now, but that's not stopping production at farms. We take you to one egg farm that's still rolling along. Eggs, they're in high demand at the grocery store right now as more people cook from home, but getting them from the farm to the table can be quite the process. Photojournalist Russ Hnatusko shows us how one couple does it day after day as they farm on in southern Michigan.
I have a 500 cow dairy herd. When we were transitioning to organic, we wanted to have a more manure to put on the soil because we can't buy commercial fertilizer. It's been interesting, a good learning experience. These are where the eggs go. And then this is a belt that brings the eggs up to where we collect them. I tease my wife and say next will be sheep, but she doesn't see the humor in that.
Oh my, the chickens never stop producing from the time they arrive here. As right now we're hatching between 29,000 and 30,000 eggs a day. So every day, all day long, the chickens are laying eggs. Do one collection at 8, another collection at noon, and then we have our evening collection we do around 5.
It's a living egg, actually, so it needs to breathe. So that's why it's so important to keep the air moving in here Miller Poultry has a hatchery in Goshen, and then they put them in special rooms, and they have a way of hatching them right on time. Then they'll be able to process them into chicken breast and other good meat.
What's the toughest part? Raising the eggs or working with your husband?
Oh my, actually raising the eggs. It's a very time-consuming endeavor. Living with him, I just show up in the house and he's there from time to time. But he's very good at fixing everything that breaks, and so that's good.
All right, thanks Russ, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Farm on.